The world got issues today because the peoples don't want to come all together decently and talk to each other. But now they gonna have to. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 40. Because even with their mediators, somebody still is having trouble understanding something, whatever it is that one or more does not understand. The world got issues today because someone is not understanding. Breaking news for August 15, 2024. High stakes. Gaza ceasefire talks are restarting. Here are the main obstacles to a deal. Iran wants to attack Israel. There were still hostages to be freed as of August 15, 2024, and Hamas only wanted to talk with certain ones, but not everyone involved in making the deal. Why didn't Hamas not want to talk to everyone for the peace deal? Our position was clear. We will not go for new negotiation rounds. We will only go to implement what has been agreed on, said Bassem Naim, a member of the Hamas political bureau. Note: in modern politics and history, a parliament is a legislative body of government. Generally, a modern parliament has three functions: representing the electorate, making laws, and overseeing the government via hearings and inquiries. The term is similar to the idea of a synod. Synod, a council of a Christian denomination. Synod is Greek for assembly meeting. And the term parliament is also similar to the idea of Congress. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas said during a speech to Turkey's parliament that he would visit Gaza soon in an effort to help bring about a pause to the barbaric aggression. They're now referring to what's been happening now in Gaza as barbaric aggression, extremely cruel and unpleasant treatment. What is Biden's proposal? In May, Biden laid out a free phase proposal the administration said was submitted by Israel that would pair a release of hostages from Gaza with a full and complete ceasefire and a release of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. The first phase would last 6 weeks and include the withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza and the release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, the wounded, in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and the implementation of a temporary truce. Phase 2 would allow for the exchange for the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers, and a permanent end to the fighting. In Phase 3, a major reconstruction plan for Gaza would commence, bring or come into activity, being or operation, begin, start, and any final remains of hostages who've been unalived will be returned to their families, the U.S. president said. So they're keeping the dead bodies put away all of this time. I didn't know that they do it like this before now. Israel launched its war against Hamas after the group's cross-border October 7 attacks, in which more than 1,200 Israelis were unalived and 250 taken hostage, according to Israeli authorities. More than 100 of those hostages remain in Gaza. Their families back home, pleading for a breakthrough to secure their safe return. It is unclear how many of the original hostages set for release are still alive. Hamas and Israel have been engaged in tedious negotiations for months. Officials from Qatar and Egypt act as intermediaries, delivering messages to Israeli and Hamas representatives in shuttle-style diplomacy, since representatives from the warring parties are not present at the same location. Technical teams have flown in and out of Doha and Cairo to iron out details for a potential agreement. So that's why Hamas is going to someone else, because Hamas and Israel is not in the same location trying to make the peace deal. So if anyone wants to make any changes, then it would likely take longer for the mediators to get the info to then go and tell the other. But Israel and Hamas seem to be not liking Biden's proposal as of August 15, 2024. Last month, Prime Minister Netanyahu was demanding that armed men be barred from returning to northern Gaza during an eventual ceasefire. An Israeli source familiar with the talks told CNN. Israel had previously agreed to allow Palestinians unrestricted access to northern Gaza. The Prime Minister's office also addressed three contentious issues in the negotiations, including the movement of armed men from southern Gaza to the north, the number of living hostages to be released, and Israel retaining the right to approve the Palestinian prisoners that will be released, as well as whether they should be sent into exile into the state of being barred from one's native country, typically for political or punitive, punishing reasons. A senior U.S. administration official as of August 15, 2024, was doubting that both sides would come to agreement for the peace deal by Friday. There sure is a lot of border stuff happening. They seem to be over there having to watch Egypt's borders and other places too. What is Hamas' position on Thursday's talks? U.S. officials had said that talks had reached an advanced stage until Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh was unalived in Tehran in late July in an assassination Iran blamed on Israel. Israel hasn't confirmed or denied responsibility, but Iran has vowed vengeance. There were concerns that the assassination would throw a wrench in the negotiations between Israel and Hamas. The militant group replaced Haniyeh with Yahya Sinwar, the hardline Hamas leader in Gaza, who is one of Israel's most wanted men. Sinwar is believed to be deep underground in a tunnel in Gaza and is hard to reach. Because of Sinwar's location, Hamas has been having trouble communicating with their leader. Hamas hasn't ruled out an agreement with Israel, but said that it won't engage in further negotiations. It instead asks mediators for a plan to implement a ceasefire proposal put forward by Biden. So, is Hamas in agreement with Biden's proposal or not? A Hamas source told CNN on Wednesday that the group has adopted a position of intentional ambiguity over whether it will attend ceasefire talks, adding that its position on a potential ceasefire is firm whether or not it attends the talks. Were they saying that they are open to interpretations, intentional ambiguity? Is Hamas now saying that they want for people to explain some things to them? If so, then what are the things that Hamas wants explained or explained more better for them? Asked why Hamas has been unclear about whether it will attend the ceasefire talks, the source said, this ambiguity is the movement's position, which was announced in its latest statement, is intentional and did not come by chance. It comes as a result of Netanyahu's behavior. So what is it about Prime Minister Netanyahu that Hamas is not understanding? Why were Thursday's talks so important? Thursday's ceasefire talks were the result of a major diplomatic effort by mediators Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S. to push for a last-ditch effort to end the war and free the hostages as Iran prepares to attack Israel. Now showing a photo of a young Palestinian woman checks the damage inside a classroom at the Al-Zawraa school used as a refuge by displaced Palestinians after it was hit by an Israeli strike in the Sujaya neighborhood of Gaza City on August 8th. In parallel, U.S. and Middle East diplomats have been mobilizing to persuade Iran from launching an attack on Israel that could lead to a wider regional war. Both Iran and the U.S. have said that lines of communication between them are open through intermediaries, persons who acts as a link between people in order to try to bring about an agreement or reconciliation, mediators. There have been some indications that Iran may abandon plans to attack Israel if a ceasefire deal is reached. But the country's mission to the United Nations said on Saturday that Tehran's retaliation is totally unrelated to the Gaza ceasefire. As of August 15, 2024, they were saying that they will be putting much efforts to converse communications to hold back Iran from attacking Israel, especially if there is still hostages from wheresoever being held in Gaza. The president rebuffed questions on what he's doing to pressure Israel and Hamas to come to the bargaining table for proposed ceasefire deal talks Thursday, telling reporters, if I told you what pressure that I'm putting on it, it wouldn't be very much pressure, would it? I hope that Biden was doing right as of August 15, 2024. Someone who has spoke to CNN has said there is concern that Iran may not hold back on striking Israel, as the diplomat believes the Biden administration is not applying enough pressure on Netanyahu to reach to reach an agreement. And Hamas definitely seems to want explanations about something that they now want to know about Prime Minister Netanyahu, and they are worried about the Biden administration not putting very much pressure on Netanyahu. So now I ponder, why is Hamas now wanting to know so much about Netanyahu for? So is it really Israel that Hamas got a problem with? Or is it just Prime Minister Netanyahu that Hamas got a problem with as of August 15, 2024? And could the Biden administration not been putting much pressure on Netanyahu as how that someone who had spoke to CNN may want, because the Biden administration is very much now strongly fixed on elections for this year 2024 in the USA? The Biden administration can be fixed on elections if they want to, but they still got a job to do, so they all better start working after all. How much money has even now the Democrats been getting for even all of their campaigns? I ponder, because I know that they are paying a lot of money, so Democrats cannot talk about any Republicans anymore about how much money they may be paying, because demos are paying a lot of money just as well for this election year 2024. Israel, Netanyahu, and Hamas sees things about Biden's proposal that they all got questions about, and Hamas seeing something about Netanyahu. So Hamas wants understanding about Netanyahu. They all got mediators going around talking about this and that person. Maybe if they all were to meet and sit decently at a table somewhere and talk rightly, decently too, then maybe, perhaps, then they all would get more clarity, or a they. Because of the lack of clarity from everyone, and with all that Iran was looking like to be was going to do as of August 15, 2024. So sources and mediators were doubting that they may not have enough influence to push Hamas to compromise, delay, hold back, whatsoever similar to compromise in any way, especially if there are still hostages in Gaza, no matter who is being held by who. Because of the lack of clarity from everyone, and with all that Iran was looking like to be was going to do as of August 15, 2024, so sources and mediators were doubting that they may not have enough influence to push Hamas to compromise, delay, hold back, whatsoever similar to compromise in any way, especially if there are still hostages in Gaza, no matter who is being held by who. All human life is still beautiful to this very day, and any whosoever that got a problem with me saying that like that, then step off, click off, bye bye. The world got issues today because the peoples don't want to come all together decently and talk to each other, but now they gonna have to. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 40, because even with their mediators, somebody still is having trouble understanding about something. The world got issues today because someone is not understanding. Peace. Yes, indeed.